down immediately, right now, on Black Friday, for it to arrive on Christmas and for your nephew to become a total fucking autist. Welcome to another Skinwalker Gang stream. This is Yakov here, trying to talk about fucking Warhammer shit. I got Pengus with me. He said he was here. There he is. There he is. Maud's here.
Hail Chaos.
Hail. And Alb is here.
Yes, I have listened to Horus Rising as an audiobook.
Now
that's where I'm at in Warhammer lore. So
I've been dying for an excuse. I've been dying for an excuse to do Warhammer content. I try to do it when I have no other content and just want to spurg out on my other streams. But the fact of the matter is, like, there's no way that I can, like, explain to you what the fuck any of this means if you've never heard it before. So it's, like, pointless for me to even go on about it. Unless you and I do the deep dive together. We learn a little more. Myself, Pengus, and Alb are pretty much filthy casuals. Here's the funny thing. Alb's sitting here being like, oh, I've read one book. I've read, like, at least 15 fucking books. Still casual. Still feel like I have no idea what the fuck is going on half the time.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
15 books?
Yeah, I still have no idea what's happening usually.
Can't believe it.
Everything I've read was in the Horus Heresy, so I have very little perspective on, like, the current timeline in 40k, the grimdark future with the Emperor on the Golden Throne. Now, but here we are going back in time, so even people who don't know anything about 40k can enjoy this. Because we are going to White Dwarf magazine, which, how do I explain what White Dwarf is, Maud?
It's a serial that by Games Workshop to basically a catalog of new developments in their tabletop games, as well as other tabletop games that were sold in the store at the time.
Okay, so yeah, it is a magazine that it is, for a while, it seems like it was the, other than like codexes and rule books, it was the source for information on Warhammer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the first issue of White Dwarf after the release of the first edition of Warhammer 40k, which was Rogue Trader, correct?
Yes.
And we are going to learn together the lore. And we're going to start right at the beginning. And it's interesting going through this because the lore we read here is pretty contradictory to what we now know. And it's in many small ways that you wouldn't even notice unless you've been reading books. But we are going to acclimate ourselves to this lore together. So let's get started.
I'm excited to learn.
Games Workshop's monthly role-playing magazine, White Dwarf. This is the September 93 issue? That doesn't sound right at all, does it?
Yeah.
87. No, issue 93, September 1987. That's correct. And here we have, on the cover, we have the Crimson Fists chapter of the Space Marines.
Yep.
Kicking ass. Beautiful
artwork.
artwork.
Their home world that is going to be overrun with orcs.
Amazing.
Any second now.
You told me something about the history of this artwork? Was this the one? Is this the one?
This is the one that defined Grimdark as we know it.
Well, is this the one that was based on a World Wrestling Federation poster?
No.
Oh, it looks like it should be, though.
That's the art for the Necromunda box. That was based off. But,
I see.
this art piece with the Crimson Fist, there's new iterations of it that come out with every major edition. Like, when the Primaris Marines came out, this artwork was redone with Primaris Marines.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Disgusting. So the Space Marines are the super warriors of the far future. They are barely human at all, and they fucking hate aliens and chaos.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And they serve the empire of man.
The Crimson Fists in particular were named after a gay bar in the US.
Disgusting.
What?
Just the worst lore possible.
Yes.
That's why you listen to this show. You get the darkest lore,
Yeah.
hidden truth.
The deep dark hole, which will never return.
Stay the fuck out of here. Gotta get my dog out of the room so we can do the stream, dude. He's
What the
pissing
dog
me
doing?
off.
What
Stay
the
out!
dog doing?
Alright,
That dog is doing, brother.
we got some table of contents here. Some of our favorites. Gobbledygook. Thrud. Take a look at all of this.
Love some
Heavy
thread.
metal.
I love Thrud. I'm a Thrud lover. Okay. Open box, either to be used to deploy new units or to activate existing units. So I'm going to basically ignore all of the rules and shit like that because I personally am not a tabletop guy. I wanted lore to read. That's why I got into 40K. So we're gonna focus on the lore here. These are some of the games that you see advertised in White Dwarf prior to 40K, before that became a huge wave. But in some of this artwork, all this kick-ass artwork, you really see the roots of 40K. You see like the futuristic dystopian, gangsters battling and stuff like that, which very much looks like the Hive gangers from 40K. See a lot of mohawks going on here, a lot of punk rock aesthetic. And that's one thing I noticed when I'm going through these old issues, is where the roots of this very unique IP lie. Have you played any of these games, Mod?
No, I have not played any of those games.
Here we have some of the comic stylings that we find in here. This is this is a comic which its name I would never fucking know unless it wasn't written all regular in the table of contents. Turns out it's gobbledygook. It's about some orc. I can barely read it because I get a headache looking at it, but man, is the artwork cool.
Yeah, it looks dope. Very, very appropriate.
He's got an orc girlfriend.
It's true. Do you want to go through it? We have to decide who's doing what roles.
Oh, fuck.
You young goblins got it real easy nowadays, like every time. We'll not do that. Not this time, at least.
Yeah.
Thrud the Barbarian. This is very interesting to me because this clearly seems to be a root of the 40K idea, the whole setting. Thrud the Barbarian is the story of like a very Conan-esque barbarian figure who's put into like a dystopian future, and you find him at like futuristic biker bars and crap like that causing trouble. But here you have pictured an Imperial Space Marine, which is very interesting to me. They're drinking at the Hobbit's armpit. They're pretty good. They usually end with Thrud killing everyone at the bar and then going to the next bar.
Somebody's got to go to the next bar.
It's true.
God, he is a big boy.
Yup.
The beginning Space Marines weren't as, uptight or
Yeah, they didn't have that codex
they
there.
didn't have codes.
Well-
They were just like your regular asshole enforcers, basically.
Okay. The thing about this is that I've seen these comics in many prior issues with nothing that seems like a reference to 40K at all. So I'm curious how that comes about. Like, if this universe becomes 40K just because that's their new IP, or if this is just like the root of all of those ideas.
It's coalescing as we're scrolling through, you could say. This is a commercial for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
God, it's advanced enough, for the love of God, bro. Stop.
Too many editions, quite frankly.
Messing with the music. It sounds retarded when I do that.
When
Oh
I'm
my
good,
God.
I'm very, very good. But
I'm desperately trying to get the music at the right volume. That sounds about right. Okay. More rules. We got like some friendly t-shirt merchants going on here. Here we have like a pirate dude trying to sell his wares to this Chaos Marine, I guess. When I'm good, I'm very, very good. But and then there's like a splatter of jizz on the shirt. I don't really get it. Hey babe, want to see my wand of fireball? Bring that one to your next D&D gathering, dude, and give it out to the homies. And I'll get tons of pussy suddenly. Druids do it in the woods? It's true. Say I'm short and I'll bite your kneecaps, this one says, for the dwarf in your party. Vance's evocation of arcane delight. Sounds amazing. And like, regardless of whether I know anything about any of this crap I'm looking at, like the artwork, it always impresses.
Yeah, like it has a positive energy to it. Like
Well, everything
were
I'm seeing
having
here.
fun when they created this.
Oh yeah.
Just guys being guys and like, dude, what if the orcs were doing this and the Empire were doing this and yeah, hell yeah, let's include that.
You got
All this
cool.
artwork looks
Imagine
like
them
it was done in
creating-
charcoal, and I think that really adds to like that rough around the edge aesthetic that everything has here. I really like that.
I like this
Like the
little
little dude in the
homunculus
bottle.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all done in charcoal, dude.
If you scroll up, there's a whole chapter on sex.
Most
Oh.
of Vance's wizards are male. There is no reason
Oh.
why females may not be wizards, but Vance's witches tend to be of the old hag or young seductress stereotypes. Vance is at least aware of his own sexism and attempts to rationalize it. He states that since the queen of the witches, Lorio the Mirth, departed from the earth, taking a cortege, is that what that says? of
Yeah.
wise women, feminine power has dwindled. It is because men now rule that the dying earth is such a dreadfully chaotic and violent place. Indeed, the wizard Vermilion, the Dreamwalker, describes a visit to a dream world where Lorio rules. It is a world without violence or greed, where the wisdom of women is truly appreciated. Unfortunately, Utopia is no place for excitement and adventure. I don't know, I would never play this fucking game. This is D&D shit, right? That makes sense. Here
Yeah.
we are. This is what we actually give a fuck
Tomatoes
about.
right fucking here, dude.
Look at this fucking gorgeous artwork. Right in the beginning. We got the double Aquila. The fucking classic logo, which it beats the shit out of the new logo. Holy
it
crap.
does. A lot
It
of
goes so
character
hard.
there.
Dude, it's so metal. I love it.
Oh wait, what's this shit down here? What are these emblems here?
Got a little bit of chaos happening here. We got some fists. We got-
Those were the original emblems for the factions.
Damn.
Yeah, I can tell who's.
Man.
I can, for the
Yeah,
most part, tell who's who. Like you can tell who's the Imperium, who's the Eldar.
I can see who's bad and good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Why is the whole franchise called Warhammer? What's that referring to?
That's referring
Where's
to
the hammer?
Warhammer Fantasy.
Where's the hammer?
It was a fantasy universe previously,
Yes.
where Warhammers were
And-
commonplace.
There is a Warhammer wielded by the Emperor of Man in that universe. That's supposedly the emperor given to him by his god.
Amazing.
So they just kept the name.
Yes.
I guess
Yeah,
that
Kept
was
what
the
I-
name.
What I remember
What is it?
reading, they wanted to make like a more sci-fi futuristic equivalent of what they had, and then they
Yes.
found out that this is way
So-
fucking cooler.
It seems to
So
me
the-
that if you're gonna do a dystopia,
In motion was like, yeah, we'll just roll with that.
yeah, I'm sure it was like, all right, pick a really big number, but one that sounds good. Probably that simple.
Yes.
So here we have
And,
some of the first lore for 40k right here. Other than the original codex for Rogue Trader, this is probably all there is to go off of at the time. So we learned, just as the OGs learned, for more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, to whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. This is the tale of these times. It is a universe you can live today if you dare, for this is a dark and terrible era where you will find little comfort or hope. If you want to take part in the power of if you want to take part in the adventure, then prepare yourself now. Forget the power of technology, science, and common humanity. Forget the premise of progress and understanding, for there is no peace amongst the stars. Only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods. But the universe is a big place, and whatever happens, you will not be missed. So that sets up our grimdark setting, or sets the tone for the setting in the universe. This is pretty much where the lore is today still. This is pretty accurate. One thing that stands out to me is that, what does it say? By the will of the gods, it says. And master of 1,000,000 worlds, by the might of his inexhaustible armies, he is the master of mankind. So by the will of the gods. And that's definitely not something that would fly in today's lore, where the emperor was the secular leader.
Yeah,
Definitely. I've only
yeah, but he is still
one
the
book.
emperor by the will of the gods in a roundabout way, because he made a pact
Yes.
with the big bads
Yes.
of the universe. We will get to chaos later.
Yeah, we're
but
talking
the-
about things, and even chaos comes about later,
Yeah.
right? But like, so much of what we know is Horus Heresy lore, which was maybe a sentence of lore at this point, if that. I think that wasn't until the second codex,
Yes.
the second edition. And then you had one sentence to go off of. So much of what you see in YouTube videos and all of that, it is just not something that even exists here at all.
Also, keep in mind, this whole paragraph, as well as any other piece of literature set in this universe, is propaganda. Is
Right.
in-universe propaganda.
That's one of the things that really stands out about 40K, allowing people to choose their side and then believe that side's propaganda. You're
Yes.
totally free to do that in this universe because you can assume that anything you disagree with is enemy propaganda.
Yes.
Yup.
That was definitely the case while I listened to Horus Rising, because all of the characters you meet,
Now you have
get to know,
the...
they
Hold
are
on, let Alb go. Let Alb finish his fucking thing here.
they are within the empire, and like they are forming secret societies, and they're being good blokes fighting tremendous battles. But then, like at the end, you get this idea that maybe this empire of man are not as virtuous as they claim to be. Like, why must they subject all other humans? Why are there even other humans out in the
That's one
universe?
thing. I'll talk to like
Strange?
old heads, purists about that, and they'll be like, no, like the Emperor is always set up as the good guy, and everybody always obeys him. But it's like, as soon as you read Horus Rising, the first book in the Horus Heresy, it's basically, you know, once you get past the beginning action, you have a Space Marine talking to, I think it's a Remembrancer or some sort of historian. I don't remember exact. Yes, but they're basically having a discussion, openly questioning the Emperor's will, not doing it with any malice or hatred or anything like that. But like philosophically, they are openly hashing out whether what they're doing is right or wrong. I think at the end of the day, they kind of come to the conclusion that it's just not their place. They know their place, and that's not really their place.
So here we have the original Space Marine chapters. So your Space Marines are your standard superhuman warriors. They're divided into chapters, much like the militant chapters of the church, the knightly orders. From top to bottom, you have the chapters much like... I don't know what the first one is. The second one is the Dark Angels. Third one is the Blood Angels. Then you have the Ultramarines with their toilet bowl symbol, the Iron Hands, the Imperial Fists, and the Flesh Terrors.
Oh, we
The
going,
Flesh
dog.
Eaters,
We going,
the Silver
dog.
Skulls, the Rainbow Warriors, the White Scars, and finally, the Space Wolves.
Yeah, the Rainbow Warriors are the only not based chapter.
The
literally
Rainbow
never
Warriors
heard of them
are
before.
named after a sunken little ship
Gotcha.
that was named the Rainbow Warrior. They're not mentioned anywhere else.
So, what is war models moving within only loose formations? You won't need hundreds of models to play Warhammer 40,000, just a dozen will do. Although when you see the gems the Citadel designers have come up with, you'll want to collect a lot. Warhammer 40,000 uses the familiar mechanisms of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and even many of the same creatures, which are now revealed in their entire cosmic guise. Here we have some of the early art, which I love this stuff. You talk grimdark, like this is goddamn grimdark. When the images are so dark and black that you can barely make them out, just enough to like see their eyes and their sorrows.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yep. The catacombs beneath the Emperor's palace, the first one says.
Fuck is happening to that dude in the back there? Getting carried around by something, dude.
That is a servitor.
Amazing.
He's actually part of the wall.
Amazing.
Oh.
So the servitors are like the corpse computers that they use in the far future.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing.
You're in this setting.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have the Imperium of Man, taking inspiration from Dune's universe. They're not allowed artificial intelligence. So what they do is they put a human brain into a machine or attach it to a machine somehow.
Mhm.
So all the robots you see, all the mechanisms you see are either a corpse with its brain somehow plugged into the mechanism or a brain in a jar.
Cool.
Okay.
The second image, it says honor the craft of death. Do it. Here we have.
That was the first Space Marine litany. They would carve that onto their armor.
Bottom on the left, we have technicians of the Adeptus Mechanicus. We got tech priests from Mars. That's a whole rabbit hole in its own that I feel like we can't go into here, but yeah, they have an alliance with the Imperium of Man, and they're like the only humans, I want to say, because they're all basically part machine now, but they're the only people that are allowed to openly have a religion, it seems like.
They're also the only people that are allowed to produce technology.
Cool.
Every single railing or structure or any of that was
Gotta be done by
made
them.
with the sanction of Mars.
And this is why the secular emperor allowed them to have their religion and allowed them to almost be seemingly, you know, in text, they're almost equal to his station.
Yes.
The Martian sovereignty is always like respected. On the right, we have a Space Marine commander looking sick. And they're all looking sick. Space Marines look disgusting. And I love it. This is the sort of artwork you see on the Chaos Marines that would come later.
Yeah. It really kept that idea that they're no longer human, that they're
Yes.
bloated and monstrous, and you would not like to be around these guys.
And that is one thing I love, is when a book, like a 40K novel, is able to maintain the Space Marines' disconnect with regular mortals. Because so often they just use a Space Marine as a standard human character almost, and they just have their emotions just be normal emotions. But when they do it right, the Space Marines literally can't comprehend the lives of normal people. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, and it's as laughable as an ant's life is to your average human.
Right. And what is really tragic, I should say, was one of the unique, all these Space Marine chapters have unique perspectives and unique takes on things. But what originally set the Ultramarines apart was that they were the only ones who understood human facial expressions and sarcasm, because the Ultramarines are afforded their own section of space to govern.
Yeah. Now they're just known for being pretty boys with like Roman laurels.
Right.
Yeah.
That has completely been thrown out the window. Your Space Marines of today are written like your average action hero.
The caption says, "Our thoughts light the darkness that others may cross space. We are one with Emperor. Our souls are joined in his will." I think that would be a reference to the navigators that might be pictured here. I'm not even sure. Yep. Well, let's go slow here. Let's start. This contains a Space Wolf story, which is very interesting. It's brutal, it's dark, it's great. So I'm going to read this. The Marines moved forward, plastisteel boots leaving a trail of footprints in the dust. Moments before, the dust had been a squad of orcs, warriors of the alien invasion force, which conquered the planet 5 short years ago. Brother Torque powered down the multi-melta and slung the weapon on its carrying strap. 2 blasts had dealt with the target. He watched his brother Marines advancing before him, their steel-gray power armor suits enwrapped in the snaking mist that rose from the muddy remains of the enemy. So we're already off to a great start, where we have Space Marines just moving through a pink mist of their enemy. He felt the warmth of the ground despite the heavy insulation built into the soles of his boots. He had fallen behind. The rest of the squad stood a score of paces to his front, their gray forms shimmering in the heat haze. Beyond them, the jungle thickened once more, an obscene growth of orange foliage rising as tall as a dropship. The trees arched their huge fronds toward the south, where the second sun was rising. Were Brother Torque foolish enough to remove his helmet, the powerful rays of this alien daylight would destroy his sight within an instant. He gave thanks for the protection of the suit's auto senses, the witch machine that conveyed unblinking images directly to his mind. So, here, this is kind of like what 40K was all about back in the day. Just how badass the universe was, how sick and disgusting it was, how cool Space Marines were. In this, if you compare it to the modern lore, you kind of see why like the old fans hate the new stuff. It's because now it is kind of very much structured like a fantasy novel series. Like, well, there are 200 novels, so imagine that. But almost in the vein of something like Game of Thrones, or even in the way that Marvel works, where there's twists and turns, and you pick your side, you got your favorite, you wear the t-shirt, whatever. But in this, there's no hero per se. They began to appear out of the forest, at first in 1s and 2s, then in small groups. The children and old folk followed as best they could. The first of the creatures drew close. 5 years ago, these creatures had been human settlers, before the orc invasion force broke their plexi-shelter domes and cast them out into the weird and hostile forests. We'll get back to this art in a second. Torque loosened the strap on the multi-melta, and the other Marines leveled their bolters. Captain Dolans motioned the company to remain in position. His voice rang through Torque's auto-sense. "Stay back." One of the once-humans was saying something to the captain, kneeling before him, crooning something inaudible, caressing the Marine's armor with hands grown scaly and black. All were blind. All had the pearly white eyes possessed by so many beggars in Jubal, the only human settlement which had survived. Torque could hear the man's croaking voice. Perhaps the words were, "Save us! Save us!" "Their eyes," whispered Brother Nesmith. "They're blind!" Torque watched the wretched creature that pawed at the captain like a dog at the feet of its long-lost master. The others began to edge forward. Their ragged clothes were dirty and scant, their faces slavering, vacant, sightless. And then, glistening mandibles emerged from their mouths. Captain Dolenz turned quickly. His orders came clearly over the autosense. Aboriginal population irreparable, genetic damage, terminate. Nesmiv's gun spoke first, spitting a hail of bolts into the first creature. Its body ruptured as the charges hit. The creatures turned and ran for the forest edge. Abandoned infants, the sick, and the old were trampled. It was too late. The rest of the squad opened fire. Liberation had come at last, mercifully administered from the gun barrels of the Space Wolves chapter of the Space Marines. Needless to say, an extensive range of miniatures is the first priority, and I'm still reading that like it's intense. More rules. I'm not reading rules. But liberation had come at last. So they trampled the infants and the elderly. It's nasty. And I love it.
We streaming?
Yes!
Yes.
Oh,
I added you in the chat, brother, that we're streaming.
The captain ordered a halt while Brother Joens probed the jungle for hostiles. Psychers, like Brother Joens, were rare amongst the ranks of the Marines. Few of them were able to withstand the mind-wrenching horrors unavoidable in the line of duty. No one spoke, not because to do so might have disturbed the Psychers' concentration, but because the Battle Brothers were accustomed to silence. Silence saturated the cavernous halls of their fortress monastery on the planet Lucan. Its stones remained eternally ignorant of levity or chatter, its worn and ancient flagstones remembering only the contemplative tread of soft leather. Torque recalled the sun shining through the airless atmosphere in the stained glass of the library dome. Soon he would be home again, unless the gods should favor him with a hero's death. Comments? Maud, Bengus, Alb?
Oh, yes. At
so-
this time,
Yep. Maud?
the
Go ahead, Juan.
the emperor being a secular figure was not as prominent.
Right.
So many of the Space Marines had their own cultural traditions and religious beliefs, such as the Space Wolves, who are basically Vikings.
So yeah, we have mentions. The last line is hoping the gods would give him like an honorable death. That's something that would be totally heretical in today's setting.
Yes.
Bengus.
So scroll back up to the start of the story, because I noticed something in the text. If we scroll back up, no, back down. So these guys that look like.
What?
I'm wondering if these guys that you said are tech priests aren't who we were talking about with the mandibles and shit, because they don't.
No,
I mean, they
absolutely
could be.
not.
You think? You don't
These
think
are
so?
these are specifically mutants, mutant humans who are too mutated to integrate
Okay.
back into the Imperium. So I think it's basically they've
Okay.
mutated into vampires. They're bat-like, vampire bat-like.
Okay. Makes sense.
Here we have more artwork. We ask only to serve. It's this image is killing me, this top one, because it's cutting off the best Space Marine. This guy's looking so jacked up down here, and they covered him up. It's one of my favorite pieces of art. Brethren of the Angels of Death. This third one, the big one, very interesting.
That's awesome.
This is the first, the oldest image of the Emperor of Mankind that I've ever seen. I can't guarantee this is the oldest, but it's so striking. It's so H.R. Geiger. It's so different from what we know now. This is an image of a being who is a slave to his own creation. Right? Like, that's what I see here. That's not so much what we see now.
Like corrupted entirely by his own doing.
But and to me, it's like he's entombed. He's entombed in a machine that he created, and now he's basically a zombie computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically being tortured for all eternity.
How much did he deserve it though?
A lot.
We don't need to. We don't need to do that.
Hitler times
We are free of
3!
suffering. Stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next to that image of the Emperor, we have an Adeptus Mechanicus prefect.
That thing's fucked, honestly. That's the best way to put it.
Absolutely.
I can't even put together everything that's going on there. What's organic, what's
That's
artificial,
exactly
what's
right.
human, what's computer. Like, it's like there's like pieces of the structure that look like they're human.
Well, you
It's
look at it and you're
super
like,
fucked.
the devil built this.
Yes.
And that feeds right into the lore perfectly, honestly.
Yeah.
So the caption says, "Praise the Emperor who sacrifices life as ours is death. Hail his name, the master of humanity." And I think these captions are extracts from the Credo of the Astronomicon, which I don't think is a thing. I tried Googling it, nothing came up, so I don't think that's a
The
thing I can actually read.
Astronomicon is the space,
Yeah.
basically a giant lighthouse by which navigators can see through space.
And navigators essentially being human mutants who have mutated to be very powerful psychics.
They're psychics, and they can see this psychic lighthouse. And the psychic lighthouse is said to be powered by the Emperor's own psyche.
And that is the reason he has to be entombed there, to allow for this sort of travel. Otherwise, all of the human worlds would be split and isolated.
Yeah, space travel would cease to be.
And and that's a very practical thing, because it really is about resources. Are you going to starve to death? Adeptus Astartes Space Marines hanging out together. We got, what do we got here? We got a Blood Angel and
Blood Angel and a Dark Angel.
Dark Angel hanging out together, dude.
Dude, this old fucking mini here, this
Yeah.
goes fucking hard.
Mod just popped into my
why
head.
are they-
It's like a World War One British.
Is anyone
Why are
doing?
the heads so big?
Is anyone out there doing stop motion animation 40K things?
There
with the
are
figures?
guys who have taken to putting little motors inside their tent.
That's
Yeah,
even
I've seen
cooler.
the little the RC fucking minis.
Yeah.
They're fucking dope.
RC minis. There's, if you notice the first picture, there's the words "Smash the Empire" written on the wall behind him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who do you think is responsible for that?
The good guys.
See, I feel like that it implies almost, and I don't think it can't be so specific, probably, but like it almost implies like hive gangers
Right.
who are just saying like "fuck Bush."
Right. At
Yeah.
this time, and when you see Space Marines, they're usually putting down a rebellion or dealing with like punks.
Well, I mean, like I said,
As well as
the first
standard
story we just
military
read was them going to a human world that was isolated and finding mutants and destroying them.
Yeah.
So these more complicated ideas are there.
Here we have a Space Marine of the
Death World Hunt is the caption.
Ultramarines. So back in the day, there existed camouflage versions of color schemes that you could use on your miniatures, and it was encouraged to paint your miniatures to fit the environment you think they would be in. Now it's just moved away from that, and it's kind of, I don't know. It makes for less varied, less colorful a setting.
Really sad.
Yeah.
Because that looks pretty dope. I want to know more about this dude who's getting hunted.
Yeah, this dude down here, I don't know what the fuck that is. He is fascinating, to be honest. There's no real clues on him.
He might be a Kroot, because Kroots did exist. Bird-like creatures who eat the flesh of humans and other animals.
I don't think that's what this is. I think that's just like a beaked mask of some sort, which is very, very common in all of this artwork. We see all the beaked helmets.
It looks like, if you look at it closely, it kind of
is a
bears
Birdman?
similarity to the
I can see it,
helmet.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
can
the-
definitely see Kroot in that.
To the
Maybe.
it looks like a inspired by the helmet Princess Leia wears in
Oh
Return of
yeah.
the Jedi. Bounty hunters were very much a thing here, and they released bounty hunter miniatures at one point.
So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and I'll cut it off if it gets boring. The background. The galaxy has been dominated by mankind since the age of technology, but that era is now long gone, a semi-mythical time from which come half-understood and popularly feared ideas and machines known as the old science. The creators of the advanced technology that launched a million voyages of colonization have been dead for over 20,000 years. Fragmented over the entire galaxy, human civilizations developed and fell in pan-human wars, interstellar strife, social division, and religious fanaticism. Then, 10,000 years ago, one man began the slow and painful process of rebuilding humanity. He was the Emperor, the first of a new race of psychically powerful humans and the most powerful of his kind. 10,000 years later, the Emperor still lives, his immobile carcass held together by pure force of will, his great mind bent to the service of humanity. Guided by his psychic powers, human spacecraft brave the seas of warp space. Human agents seek out the enemies of the race. The warriors of the Emperor destroy his enemies. Assailed by psychically attuned aliens, the survival of the newly emergent race of human psychics remains in doubt. Only the constant vigilance of the Emperor shields humanity from the 1,000 perils that threaten its destruction.
Yeah, it kind of really sets in that the Emperor is the linchpin of all this.
Yep. And we do have like warp travel and all of that being defined here.
Yeah. Which warp is literally what you think it means. It means folding or warping space.
Yeah. So it says the Warhammer 40,000 background is an extension of the Warhammer game series, linking the Warhammer Fantasy Battle and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay games into a complete background. The rulebook looks in detail at the Imperium and the Adeptus Terra, the vast organization that runs it. Yeah, and here we have more rules. I'll just read this. Fuck it. Hey, fuck it. I'll do it. Rules are provided for the fighting arms of the Imperium, the Adeptus Astartes, Space Marines, the Army, the Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's Personal Guard, and Adeptus Arbites, the Imperium's Judicial Warriors. So we have just the Army here. That would go on to be the Astra Militarum or the Imperial Guard. The Adeptus Arbites are basically a bunch of Judge Dredd niggas. Why do I say that, dude? I said it. This is a 40K stream. I don't have to be fucking saying shit that's gonna get my video taken down.
Yeah,
I understand what you meant, though.
You did it.
Basically.
I can do that
It made
later on the
perfect
other
sense.
stream.
It made perfect sense to me, though. So I think,
Well, now,
I think
look,
your listeners will understand.
it's worth
Done
throwing
fucked
that
up.
out there if it helps the listeners understand better. And I think by my verbiage, they fully understand the 40K now. Anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody had to.
There are also
I do.
sections on the psychics of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, the Adeptus Astronomica, the core responsible for maintaining the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon of the Imperium, the Civil Service Administratum, the Adeptus Mechanicus and its technician members, the Navigators, the Warp Space Pilots, the Inquisitors, the Imperium's body of investigative agents, rogue traders, who are galactic privateers operating on the unexplored eastern edge of the galaxy and beyond, Imperial Sin-Skin Assassins, the independent Imperial Commanders, planetary governors. Players have the opportunity to command not only ordinary humans, but the various abhuman morphs, including squats, ogrins, beastmen, and psychers. So here, and Maud, we were having this discussion previously, where it sounds to me like the original 40K game is like a hybrid of like roleplay and tabletop war games. Is that what's going on here? That I feel like that's what I'm reading.
It was very much a role play, because at this point, you would engage into a regular role play session, and then you basically had squad-based combat whenever you came across an enemy. So that was your battle part. Warhammer Fantasy did not have that. There was a completely separate experience for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and Warhammer Fantasy Battle. But because the game was so small at this time, you could roleplay with your squad of dudes.
Cool.
And it was encouraged to give everybody a name, to give everybody different colored armor pieces. Yeah.
So
make them your dudes.
yeah. So here we have mention of the abhuman morphs, the squats, ogrins, beastmen, and psychers. Psychers, ogrins still being prominent. Squats having been retconned into oblivion, and beastmen. What's their deal in 40k? Are they just treated as mutants or what?
They are like they are in fantasy. They are children twisted by chaos into being partially animal. And they exist. They still exist in 40k, but on the side of exclusively chaos. In the original Rogue Trader, you could have Ratmen snipers that were employed by the Imperial Army.
So they were retconned into being more human later on, or
no? They were retconned into just being chaos.
Were they literal rats though?
Like the fantasy
were they Skaven? Is that what are you talking about?
Yeah, they were.
I know ratlings are not. Is ratlings a different concept entirely?
No, ratlings are Skaven.
They're Skaven.
No, they're
hobbits, aren't they?
No, ratlings were. So if you would look up the original ratling models, they were literally rat.
I prefer that. This makes me happy.
Yeah.
Wait, they were hobbits?
They were Skaven.
They were rat men.
Remember when someone was like, "I can't carry the ring for you,"
and then
fire up this rattling gun and blast them.
We already have halflings in the. If they wanted halflings, they would have just said halflings, because halflings already existed in Warhammer Fantasy.
Cool.
In Warhammer Fantasy, they're obsessed with eating, and make giant pies and catapult pies at people.
Okay, everybody out there, go fact check Mlad, because I'm getting conflicting ideas here, dude.
I'm looking, man, but I'm finding it.
But I know about ratlings is that they're basically hobbits. They live in little burrows that are basically like the hobbit holes. They do like second breakfast, but they also like fucking.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how you can really even call them mutants, because I too like fucking. Yeah. So players whose tastes run more alien extremes have the opportunity to field armies of degenerate orcs. I love that. Supported by their more degenerate Gretchen allies. Was that little goblin boys?
Basically.
We have the Adeptus Astartes chapter Blood Angels going on here. We got some squats in the top right. Some fucking space dwarves. And at the bottom we have Battle Brother of the Adeptus Astartes. We got that's a Crimson Fist who just blew away some orcs. Amazing. Looks like his shoulder says Flaming Death.
God, the Crimson Fist looks cool.
That is a Crimson Fist with a Rainbow Warrior Space Marine behind him.
Amazing. To be unclean, that is the mark of the mutant. To be impure, that is the mark of the mutant. To be abhorred, boys.
That is the mark of a mutant.
To be reviled.
That is the mark of a mutant.
To be hunted.
That is the fate of the mutant.
To be purged.
That is
the mark of the mutant.
To be cleansed, for that is the fate of all mutants.
All mutants.
That is the mark of the mutant. That is our fate as men.
Look to your battle gear, for it will protect you.
We guard it with our lives.
Your armor is your soul, and your soul's dedication is armor.
The soul of a warrior is the shield of humanity.
honor the craft of death.
Only the Emperor is higher in our
In
devotion.
our
It's not
devotion.
blue. They fucked up.
Honor the battle gear of the dead.
We ask only to serve.
Part of the warriors'
Catechism of worship.
catechism of worship.
So yeah, anyway, the alien dudes. If you like aliens, you can play the Eldar. It turns out they're elves. Womp womp, you got tricked. An ancient race whose sublight space cities float upon the cosmic winds. If your preferences are for large, powerful creatures, the warriors of the Hive fleets should meet your requirements. Strange six-limbed monstrosities capable of bending biological material to their will. Warhammer diehards will recognize the Slann and learn more of this once great race and its pivotal role in the history of the galaxy. More exotic aliens afford players the opportunity to use special powers, such as the weird enslavers, who have the ability to take over the minds of the enemy troops, crawlers, which burrow beneath the ground surface, and the fearsome Catachan Devil, which just bites your face clean off. So, I don't know what this is talking about at all. It feels like Gene Stealers.
So they're talking about the Tyranids. And then they're talking about the Slann, which are your space toads that in universe invented the universe.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
so the
we
Slann
talk-
are related to the old gods, right?
They are the old gods.
They are. Gotcha.
That was completely
Um.
nonsense to me. I understood pretty much nothing. What the fuck?
So there was an ancient race of space toads. They were giant pepes with huge brains, and they invented the universe.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And then the paragraph also talks about aliens you might encounter. So, like, the enslavers are these giant, like, jellyfish, squid-looking things
Mm-hmm. Love
Yeah.
that take over your mind.
Damn. Why they have to do that? I was already on their side.
Yeah, how is this allowed? Call the
I was
Emperor.
getting paid. That's
The technology.
So they get
In Warhammer 40,000, technology takes a definite back seat, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any to be found. In fact, there's a whole range of advanced weapons, armor types, and equipment. The range of technology available reflects the diversity of humanity, ranging from the primitive crossbows and slings used on feral worlds to the barely understood digital and force weapons carried by rich and powerful individuals. Technology permeates the society of the Imperium despite the mystic aura associated with it. Warp engines propel spacecraft into the fluid medium of warp space, whilst the technomats of the Adeptus Mechanicus preserve the sacred knowledge of centuries etched upon the engineered memory cortexes in their brains. Warhammer 40,000 has all the hardware you'd expect in any futuristic game, but interpreted in a radically different way. Game masters can utilize what technology they wish to pose different tactical problems for their players. Dropships or teleporters, dreadnought armor or flak, agile flyers or lumbering crawlers, the opportunities for new permutations are almost endless.
Oh yeah, back to it being a role-playing game. They mentioned a game master in this particular chapter.
Yep.
By more mature versions of Warhammer 40,000, the game master ended up being relegated to just a referee, and then it was completely written out of the rules.
I see.
Yeah.
And
you could, in fact, use slings and sticks and rocks. There were rules for primitive weapons.
Warhammer 40,000 is a tabletop game with plenty of scope for different kinds of action. You can fight straight confrontations between humans and aliens, opposing groups of aliens, rebellious humans, or any combination against dangerous animals or plants. With all the galaxy to choose from, scenery can vary from dense jungles to towering cities. It can include such diverse features as lava flows, spongeweed, rubber moss, magnetic fields, meteor strikes, spawn seas, and pancake amoeba.
Pancake amoeba.
Amoeba.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
It had me at
Dog.
pancake, brother.
I'm going to smoke some spongeweed real quick. I'll tell you guys how it goes. I'll have the trip report.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm like a madman.
And we get into some
After
rules
the
shit,
trip,
it looks
dude, you
like.
can get you some pancake amoeba.
We got a quote from Mad Chainsaw Johnson, commander of the White Scar Space Marines. That's very interesting right there. He says, "Problems? Problems? There is no problem I cannot solve with this." He's talking about his chainsaw, obviously. So
Of course.
it's very interesting that, first of all, you have the name Johnson, which would come up later in the Primarchs, but this is a Space Marine from the White Scar chapter, who are not known for just being chainsaw madmen. Not specifically, at least.
Yes.
Here we have... What does that say? I can't read it. Human
Morphs
squats. So it's saying they're mutants. They're the dwarves. They are humans who have been isolated long enough to have evolved into like a different body type.
Because of the high gravity, their bones get denser and they get smaller.
Here we got the Adeptus Mechanicus Technomats on the right with their incense.
He looks like a biker.
They all look cool. Dude, yeah, that's the thing, is that the squats definitely look like bikers. Yeah, that was the thing.
He should sit on a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, one of the first... They actually do ride Harleys, because one of the first squad kits is them... Is a squat bike squad that you can field.
Yeah. Why not?
Now they're much lamer. They're basically just like a generic sci-fi civilization.
Number,
Oh yeah,
number
they
5,000.
repurposed them, or the concept to fucking whatever it is now.
Yeah,
Made that shit.
yeah.
We'll pick up from some of this rules nonsense, and we'll get to energy fields, which envelop the wearer in a protective force which can cause energy fire to dissipate or refract, or which absorbs the impact of physical objects. Other types act like small warp engines, displacing the wearer and avoiding the hit, or else turn the energy of the shot into light, potentially blinding opponents. I love how this is just all nonsense. It's basically just to help you envision like what's going on, right?
Basically.
Physical armor ranges from the humble flak armor, a pneumatically padded jacket, to full dreadnought armor. So that's talking about Space Marine armor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, at this point, anybody can wear any armor they choose as long as they have the specific attributes.
Okay.
Keep in mind, this is a role-playing game.
Yeah. So the full dreadnought armor, in which the pilot is suspended in a life-preserving amniotic jelly from which he controls suit functions via a spinal link. So it's talking about those giant bastards, right?
Yes.
The giant damn machines. They're just called dreadnoughts, or
They are called they're
knights?
called dreadnought terminators.
Okay.
Damn, really? That's what
Still
this was
unclear.
talking
We'll
about?
figure this out.
I thought this was talking about my mother.
Yeah, large,
Me
cumbersome.
completely control what my next.
I
school
would
years-
swim in her amniotic fluid.
Oh my god. I once complimented my mother's pneumatically padded jacket, and she got real offended and thought I called her fat because she wasn't wearing a jacket at all. 40k jokes, folks. Anyway. Unlike in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, hits are targeted individually, and results worked out in the same way, affording a far greater level of personal and character involvement. So yeah, you get to roleplay, you get to throw some dice, you know how it be.
Love it. Throwing
The
dice.
book.
Looks like
So
we got a bolter up here. Early design for a bolter, if I had to guess. That's
Yes.
what that is, right? Cool. It looks
It's
fucking
really
retarded.
horrible.
Here we have Rogue Trader, Agent of the Imperium. I have no idea what I'm really looking at there, to be honest.
So you see his pilot seat, and he's getting ready to armor up.
Cool. Love to see
This
it.
is an Inquisitor, the first Inquisitor.
Really? Yeah, that's an Inquisitor
His,
with...
his
with a
name is
yin-yang.
Obi-Wan.
Of course it is.
Yin Yang and the witch hunter hat and
Yes.
just a gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember his whole
Best.
name, but it's
Everything.
quite ridiculous. to be
Yes,
quite
it's
frank.
Obi-Wan, and then it's just gibberish after that.
Amazing. What the fuck? Oh, this is like a hierarchy thing. That's pretty cool.
Where is he? Who is this guy?
I mean, he would be. They don't even have it here. They don't even. So, oh, the Inquisition over to the right of the Emperor, acting without any checks and balances. Only accountable to the Emperor, who is a zombie computer.
Yes.
That's pretty.
We should stream.
Yeah, well, we're doing a White Dwarf thing. We're basically finishing up. We're gonna go through the rest of this magazine after we get done with all this 40K stuff that's in here.
Oh shit, we're streaming right now.
We're streaming.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I have one thing that I want to ask. I'm not sure if you have the answer, but in Horus Rising, it is clear that mankind is spread out through the universe.
Right.
And in it has formed many different civilizations.
Right.
Many different factions. Why is that? That's like the beginning point.
To refer back
Mankind
to
split
the
up.
dark age of technology, human civilization spread throughout the stars thousands of years before the Emperor came to prominence. Then there were warp storms that cut off all these worlds. Right?
The birth of a god.
So all of mankind was truly united for
You have to consider.
1,000 years.
I think it's something like, if you think about like the year 20,000, it was like a generic sci-fi setting where everything was clean and shiny and everyone had AI and all of that, and that collapsed because of the birth of a god in the cosmos, which cut off all of humanity. And eventually the Emperor rose and was able to overcome that and unite all of humanity again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we discussed
Which god
that
was it?
in the second Slanesh.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah.
We
the
discussed
elves and
that
everything.
in the second page of the book, if you want a full explanation.
Here we have an Imperial War robot. The orcs don't like this at all. Or maybe they love it.
More bits to throw it together into something
I
new.
don't know what that says. Looks like Dulce et Devortum. I don't know. But that guy's getting blasted, is my point.
Yeah.
He's fucking done, dude. He's gone.
Imperial
God.
Space Marines. The introduction of the Space Marines that we're reading. It's very, very cool, dude. Amongst the citizens of the Imperium, they are known as Angels of Death. To the billion-strong bureaucracy of the Administratum, they are the Adeptus Astartes. The name whispered by their foes is Space Marine. By any name, they are the most feared of all servants of the Emperor. Marines are recruited during routine raids amongst the hardened scum of the city bottom. Prospective Marines, or Battle Brothers, are subjected to the most advanced forms of training, indoctrination, psychosurgery, and biochem. Many initiates do not survive this process, but many more become full Battle Brothers and members of the most honored fighting organization in the Imperium. There are 1,000 different Space Marine chapters, including such renowned names as Space Wolves, Crimson Fists, Dark Angels, and Silver Skulls. Each has its own base, or fortress monastery, whose exact location is often a well-kept secret. Here, the Marine chapter has its weapon forges and its harbors, as well as its training grounds and armory. The Imperial Astartes Space Marine boxed set comprises 17 yada yada. You can have tons of Marines. You can collect them all, baby.
The original box set has 30 Space Marines for $10.
I was thinking like, damn, they must have created a bunch of operating systems. Or
I think it was just 30 Space Marines for
web browsers.
$10 each.
Here
so
we have
$30.
we have prices here.
Yeah.
So when you buy the Space Orc Raiders for $9.95, you get all these boys? Or is that
All
just
of
one
those?
boy?
Yes, you get all those boys.
Man, things were good.
God, we're getting cheated now, dude.
It's €9.95 though, so it's like 20.
Yeah,
US.
it's like 20 and 30 and...
Yeah.
Euro? These are in pounds, my brother.
Oh,
I think
pounds,
euros
my
right now are pretty much equal to the dollar.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same.
I think at the time the dollar was doing a little bit better, I want to say. I'm not sure about the 80s. I'm thinking back like 20 years, not fucking 30, 40 years.
What's
So,
the currency in Warhammer? Credits? What
do you call them?
what do they call it?
Ducats.
Not
Dockets,
That's-
I think.
that's
Dockets,
actually-
I think.
That's an interesting kind of avenue to go down because there's like no corporations in Warhammer, right? Like there's no. Like,
there
there
are.
are privately owned corporations.
The universe is, or the galaxy, as it were, in this case, is too big for like a monopoly like that. So your real major monopoly is the Mechanicus.
Yeah, but it seems like it's kind of like a state-controlled. I don't know. It seems like not communism, but like monarchy that has reigned in capitalism. It seems like
there is a lot of that. The thing about it is like the emperor basically lets worlds be mostly autonomous as long as they pay their tithe in whatever form that might be, human lives, money, resources.
Most of the galaxy is dominated by the descendants of major corporations who are now feudal lords. The technology itself is manufactured at the behest and interrogation of the Adeptus Mechanicus. But you have these feudal kind of families who are running private factories on worlds. And,
in terms of like how private that is, like if you're a feudal lord, like can somebody just set up a new corporation and compete with you, or are they going to get fucking
you've been doing this for
There's the monopoly.
centuries, so there
Yeah.
is no
There's no
competition.
competition.
So like you think about like the Magna Carta and shit like that like that like the aristocrats put together, different ideas that they have rights over a monarchy, and like we've basically seen a reversal of that, where like now the monarchy has absolute control, the empire has absolute control, and these like feudal lords are subservient to the empire, and anybody who wants to compete,
all they have to do is pay a tithe. They can
Which
do
is
whatever they
conservative.
want, just
Yeah.
so long as they pass the inspection.
yeah, but they're basically they're not autonomous. They're paying their money to the greater empire.
Yeah.
But the
then,
point is,
like,
there are
rogue
many,
traders.
many different systems of governance and
But
economy
if I
going
was,
on.
one planet can be a republic, one planet can be communist, one planet
I think
can be
the real issue here, the reason like
an
this
anarchy, but they all pay a tithe to the emperor.
I think the real reason that this is so difficult to suss out is often because like when they have like a big conflict on a world and like it's this world is at stake, often in the lore like there is only one setting. So like these specific settings are there so that you can have like this, you can role play this whole galaxy, but you can have one specific conflict on this one specific battlefield.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they can't flesh out every single planet. So you wind up like they'll have this one conflict with this one hive city, and by overcoming that conflict, they take over the entire world. It's like I don't care how badass Space Marines are, like they can't take over a whole world through one conflict like that. It would take time.
Yeah.
But you got to write books, you got to have lore. So.
But I don't know. The part of the reason I'm trying to draw attention to this is like it's not like it has a lot of the elements of like cyberpunk, and we can get into that, like what that cyberpunk as a genre is saying, like politically or economically or whatever. But it's I don't think 40K really is cyberpunk. Like it's like it comes out of cyberpunk. It comes out of like this mixture of all
the
these
technical
things.
term for this is archaeofuturism.
Interesting. I don't know that word at all. What does that word mean?
It's the future itself is old.
Retrofuturism.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an older descriptor of retrofuturism where everything in the future is torn down.
Yeah.
And has been there for ages and is rusting and there's no hope.
Right. Which is a lot of the same elements as cyberpunk, but I feel like people get into Warhammer for the same reasons they get into cyberpunk.
Yeah. Something like that must have happened in the Warhammer universe.
And
I'm still puzzled by the fact that there are a bunch of different human civilizations.
What's
This
puzzling about that?
spans the entire Milky Way galaxy, so there's tons of different.
And it's even more complicated than that because they all claim to be the original humans. Not all of them, but like that is a
Yes.
common
A lot
motif
of
they
them,
run
yeah.
into.
Yeah, some of the first lines of Horus Rising
Yep.
are like, "I was there the day that the Emperor was killed," or that Horus killed. I was there the day Horus killed the Emperor.
Horus slew the Emperor. Yep.
Right.
And I love that emperor. I miss him.
But it's not the Emperor; it's the other Emperor that he's referring to.
The Emperor.
The Pretender.
Kill us. You could have left us alone.
So here we have some orc space raiders. The savage race known as orcs was probably the first alien civilization encountered by humanity. That was a very long time ago. It is said that when orc and man first met upon some airless world over 20,000 years ago, each took a long hard look at the creature it had discovered, drew pistols, and simultaneously shot the other dead. Things have not changed much in the ensuing millennia. Most orc warriors don't care too much who they happen to be fighting for, just so long as they are fighting. Humans, spit, it says that in parentheses, are the orcs' favorite enemy, especially unarmed civilians, women, and children. Space Marines, spit, are another matter. They don't even roast good. If they can't find humans to fight orcs, orcs will resort to fighting each other. So yeah, and we got a bunch of troopers and bolters to sell you. Buy them! Buy the orcs! This is very interesting to me because I would have thought that a lot of the comparisons that, like, the Eldar, for example, make between orcs and humans, where they can't really even see how they're that different, that sort of motif is right here early on, where they're like looking into a mirror of each other almost. And it's not just here. I was reading some of the old school, what was it? I think it was Warhammer Monthly, and it's just full of comics. But there's a lot of comics where my favorite one is you have some blood angels who are defending a bridge, and the orcs are trying to siege the bridge and take it over. And they're all going crazy. Everyone's blowing everyone up, and everyone's having a blast doing it. And at the end, you have the leader of the blood angels across from the orc leader, and they're having this face off, and they're just talking shit to one another. And it zooms out, and the entire bridge is destroyed except for the one part they're standing on, which doesn't connect to either side, making the whole bridge worthless. And they just really wanted to kill each other for the hell of it. So how the orcs and humans can be so similar, like those seeds are there so early, and I love that concept.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, they speak about that in Horus Rising.
Yes, it's a big thing with the
He's
Eldar.
talking about one day humanity will die out, and he's wondering what race will be left to replace us. Sometimes I wish it's the greenskins. Sometimes.
That respect that Space Marines have for orcs, there is a definite respect there. It's a weird respect, but it's there.
Kind of dumb.
Well, humans are the most chaotic, and orcs don't. I think orcs have chaos in them, but they're not as.
Yeah.
Their souls aren't as.
I think they
filled with
say
chaos.
once in a while you have an orc who's like into corn because they have aligned goals and desires, but it's very rare.
Originally, there was a whole clan of orcs that were painted red and worshipped corn. You
Now
will
they just go
see
fast.
probably in this issue where there is pictured a troop of corn jump boys, rocket boys.
Love those boys. I think that's the end of our 40K for this issue, but let's quickly go through the rest of it. Stop me if you got anything to say.
Is that a
Very
girl playing Warhammer?
Gross.
Yeah, dude, they didn't even invent being trans yet, dude.
Oh,
Very cool figures.
amazing.
We got Azeroth. Look at that, baby, man. I just love to have that sitting on like a fucking... That can be the centerpiece of my Thanksgiving dinner table.
Oh yeah, and the tree in the background.
The tree, the skeletons, love every bit of this
The
thing.
gargoyle.
I'd find a way to let like real mushrooms grow on this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, make a terrarium.
Yeah, make it
Oh, dude, that
terrarium.
would be
Frog
dope.
lives in this? Oh my god. Lizard, dude? A bearded dragon?
You know, the thing that really appealed to me with Warhammer was all the miniatures. And like when I first like learned about it and saw them all, I was thinking in my head, like, dude, like, think all like the set pieces that you could just
Yeah.
make with this, like, just arrange all these miniatures and make it look like they're like flush with the terrain and like.
Yeah.
It's just like a fucking museum piece.
That is
you're
why
like-
these things are so, you know, more and more successful, it seems like, as far as like Games Workshop. Like, I look at this stuff and I know I'm not going to be playing the tabletop games. Like, I could play like once in a while if my friends are together and everyone's supportive, everyone's into it, I could do it. But like, really, I look at the stuff and I see like a sick diorama that I just want to like set up on some big table in my bedroom.
So these are what we're looking at are contestants for the yearly miniature painting competition, Golden Demon.
Cool.
Yeah, you have. Sorry.
You good? So.
Yeah, do you have some minis?
No, I do not. I actually
Okay.
I bought a Warhammer introductory set for my nephew because he's really into
Okay.
Star Wars. He just started playing D&D, and he's got like a bunch of he still likes like setting up like dioramas of Legos in his room. There's a lot of these Zoomers are still into this weird stuff, but like I figured you put all that together and you have Warhammer.
Yeah.
Warhammer.
Oh no, you
Blocker.
have Night Goblins.
Got him, dog.
Got him good.
It's so cool. I have
What
no
the
idea what
fuck-
I'm looking
what
at.
the fuck is-
You tell me what kind of gun
Oh,
that is,
dude.
Polak.
Holy shit. Okay, where?
He
Pollock is in a fishbowl currently.
is.
Sounds
What if
about
you
right.
were this guy with this sword? You won that sword. Brian Moore wins
know,
the
but-
sword.
Is that working?
You
Yeah,
could
but who
be
won
this
the
guy.
Warhammer?
That's true. Who got the Warhammer? That's the real winner.
The
That's the face of happiness.
Maybe the real Warhammer was the friends we met along the way.
the
Pollock.
Golden Demon
Audio sucks.
Sword Award later became the Sword of the Ever Chosen. So, if you won the Golden Demon painting contest, you would win an exact replica of the Sword of the Ever Chosen that what's his face has.
Alb, do you think you could pronounce this? You'll know the one.
The Goog, the Der.
You're not Al.
You're not Al. Beat this man with a
Underrated.
stick.
Der Flügelstalle.
Kinderfloppen.
I would say, der Geflügelsalat.
Do you have any idea what that could mean just off of the top of your head?
The flying salad.
Is that really what it is?
No, that's
Damn.
just what I think.
I figured it was gonna be
Like,
something like
yeah.
that. I was looking at these Dinotopia guys down here, and I'm like, they are Flügelsaladin.
It always it has to be the flying salad almost.
Flying helmet would be more appropriate.
You could use the helmet as a salad bowl.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not German. I have
I know,
If
but you
you
have
look
more.
studied.
You have more
It's salad.
experience with fucking any other
It is-
language other than
It's a salad.
English as any of those.
I'm looking at a recipe for it right now. It actually looks
Yeah,
really
Geflügelsalat.
easy.
Versus the Deutsch.
Guligschreiber.
I can't read this page.
Gugelschreiber.
Uberschreiben.
I will never play this
Yeah.
game. Why would they do this to me? Now you gotta roll for your Kugelschreiber.
What?
I think
Why
they
is
call
there-
Kugel is like a
This
ballpoint pen.
This
So
is again a
Google-matic.
supplementary
Google-matic
thing
chicken
for
plucker.
Warhammer Fantasy.
Don't
role
ask.
Oh,
playing.
yeah, Kugelmatic chicken plucker.
The
Bigger
Kugelmatic
than-
chicken plucker. That is Polak. The Kugelmatic chicken plucker is Polak.
We'll change his name in the Discord right now. To that.
Kugelmatic chicken plucker, dude. Oh man. Look at that layout, dude. I want to live in that house.
oh yeah.
Beautiful artwork from Letters from a Foreign Land, an adventure for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Call of Cthulhu, and MERP.
Yep.
What the hell is MERP?
Yeah. That looks pretty foreign. I don't
Wasn't
think
that
I've ever
what
seen
Fallout
Medieval
was?
European roleplay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Fallout was gonna use something like that or something.
Whoa,
Like,
mama.
oh, they were gonna use derps. That's right.
So beautiful.
Hey, is that the Skinwalker?
It is. You can
It's
see him. He's in the
huge.
background in this picture right here, but you can't really make it out.
I think that's
He's
my
the,
boss.
He's a goat or whatever in the crowd over
Yep.
there.
Very
there he
cool
is.
artwork. Oh man, love that.
So these were made by the illustrator Gary Kalk, I should say.
Gary Kalk.
See,
I
this
think
this
he
guy.
also did the card art for Lone Wolf, which is another
do you know.
game that was sold in Games Workshop.
That guy is gonna be Cobes in 50 years.
Yeah.
That guy's literally me.
Everybody, that's literally us in the picture there.
Yeah, literally.
We're all there. The gang's all here, brother.
Yeah. This is
Dude, where's
our
the
little journey
Mod?
we're
Where's the
gonna go on.
treasure?
Where's the treasure?
We're looking for a
in the
dark-
eye of the beholder.
Okay, we'll check there next week.
Trying to find it. We're trying to find it, Garth.
We'll check that out later.
Yeah.
We gotta awaken.
We'll
the
stream
dragons
live
in
from
us
the
all.
eye of the beholder.
Heavy metal. So these are the guys in charge of painting.
Yeah, this is full on dork rag right here, dude. This is all about the dorkiest stuff I don't want to read about. But the miniatures are cool.
Oh, dude, some of these minis are dope.
You could 3D print the hell out of these.
Got some squats up top, some space marines on the left, then we got some barbarians or some crap. What the hell are they? They're just barbarians, right?
One of them
Barbarian.
was a
They're
Celtic.
Radlac,
Simple.
Thrall, and Ulug.
If I've ever heard of Thrall that wasn't a barbarian, dude, they're all barbarians, I
Ulug
swear.
is a Celt. He's a Celt. He's got the Pictish paint.
We got Leopold the Exhumed. That's fucking sweet. Corpus the
Oh, he's a
Fallen.
continuing character. He shows up in other Warhammer Fantasy books as well.
Got some orcs. Evil Grin,
I mean,
Iron
who
Boss.
doesn't love Leopold?
Yeah.
Fucking Leopold.
Who doesn't love it?
It's a
A
great
silver skull with an actual silver skull.
I like how they say Space Marine, Space Marine, Space Marines.
Yeah. Things never
Like, I
change.
was wondering what they were.
Some
I was
things
wondering what
never
they were,
change,
you know,
brother.
I was really confused, but including that,
We've got some fresh new models, some really exciting stuff. Here's a Space Marine. Here's another Space Marine. Now we've got some Space Marines. Now we got blue Space Marines.
all right.
Dude,
Now,
that blue one
you
looked
need
just
to
like the
drop.
red one, but it was blue Space
All
Marine.
right,
Holy shit.
blue's gotta fucking go. Tired of blue. I hate looking at it. Get rid of it.
Make him purple.
You crossed the line at purple.
That's right.
Okay.
Plum. Make him plum.
How to paint.
So they had the
Don't forget to thin your paints.
well, yeah, these paints particularly were quite thick at the time. And you didn't have dedicated like washes nor metal paints. So you just had to use either yellow or silver if you were going for red or going
I
for
think I
the
know what you're
gold
trying to say.
or silver, you had to use gray and yellow.
I think I know what you are trying to say. You're trying to say that
Yeah.
people back then had not fallen victim to the psyop of showering.
Yeah,
Just
capitalist
walking around
society.
being natural.
We
Yeah.
need to
But
form
now
an
they got
organization,
us. And they are tricking us
Here, this is
into the hot water shower.
this stuff is from
Abdul.
this is Judge Dredd stuff, I believe. Campaign
Yes.
characters for the Judge Dredd role-playing game. And if you look at a lot of this artwork, and it's not as prominent in this issue, but we'll see other examples. But I think this futuristic dystopia is where a lot of the concepts for 40K were kind of adapted from.
Definitely.
Because you see a lot of
here
like
we
the
have-
hive gangers and stuff like that. It's the same look completely.
Yes. And below this we have my distant
Better.
descendant, Honest Abdul Akbar,
Where is that guy? There he is. Salesman.
salesman.
But I think
He's the
I
first
think
goofy Space Marine.
Roll
think Judge
against
Dredd
the
is-
SS.
Jack.
Judge Dredd is cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
that's
Yeah, he is cyberpunk
That's
as
right.
fuck. He's got like the vibe.
and Judge Dredd has very prominent corporations in it, and like
Oh, dude,
there's a lot
we got-
of stuff.
Yes, I think the major thing about 40K is that it takes a lot of those concepts and mystifies them, turns them like into a religion, and it's not so much a
Yeah.
focus on religion, but it takes these concepts, the cyberpunk future, this dystopia, and makes it fantasy. The setting that on the outside looks like a sci-fi thing really isn't very sci-fi at all. You never hear about like the details about how things work almost, and it's almost heresy to even consider it in 40K. You just believe it works because you have a religious devotion to it.
Yeah. So the Judge Dredd, I think, that's sort of the bridge between like something like Blade Runner and something like Warhammer. I think.
Well, the Judge Dredd, as well as all these other things, came out of Metal Hulant.
Judge Dredd came out of the other one, the British one. It was not the Metal Hurlant was French, and
the British one is 2000
2080. Yeah.
20,000 AD. Borrowed a lot of ideas from
Definitely.
the illustrator Morbius, whose art pieces became they were actually incorporated in the storyboard for Blade Runner. That's why you have lots of shots from the original Blade Runner that are literally panels from the Metal Hulant comic books.
And also the Fifth Element.
Yes.
Pretty much just lifted from the Inca by Mobius and Jodorowsky.
Here we have a medic.
Illuminations. This whole thing, I don't know exactly what the Illuminations thing is. I think it's tied to another game. Maybe I'm confused. But anytime I see that in these magazines, the artwork is sublime.
Rise and shine, Mr. Warhammer. Time to shine.
Here's the beginning of the Sisters of Battle.
What does Da Vinci have to do with this?
Sisters, the first depiction of a Sisters of Battle gunning down a space marine.
Every time in these Illuminations section, it's always full of like weird occult images, and like the Da Vinci's like right in on that. It seems to imply like Illuminati.
Yeah,
a lot of the artwork I say.
Of course, it's gonna be esoteric nimbus.
But this is clearly an evil Sisters of Battle. That's why she's called Sister Sin and has spikes on her nipple.
Weird.
You gotta avoid
She's my
those spiky
wife.
nipples,
Nobody
bro.
look at my wife.
What the hell is this?
Eldar.
That's your wife's mod?
Custodies,
Is that
actually.
what-
They're
Custodies, and that's
He is wearing a
Malkador, the
Malkador.
Sigillite, or a random astropath.
Does anybody know is Malkador lore pretty much like just never explained?
You get a decent amount of, I mean, not like where he came from, no.
Yeah.
But you get a lot of his type of
secret.
You kind of get like his perspective when you go through some of the Horus Heresy, like Master of Mankind and stuff. You get a sense of it.
Okay.
There is a book called The Sigillite that just goes that features him prominently.
I feel like they're like deliberately trying to keep him enmeshed in secrecy.
I'll tell you this:
he's a mystery character.
His sacrifice during the Siege of Terra will. I don't think have they gone over that in the Siege of Terra series.
No, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
So
that is the War in the Webway.
That is going to have to contain details that nobody expected. Like I think that will be the way they want to go about writing this. That's why I think that's the reason for they extended the Horus Heresy into the Siege of Terra books, is because they want to fill it with all these little twists and turns that nobody expected.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Those books are. I mean, I haven't read all of them, but the one I've read like parts of like 2 of them, and they were really fun.
Yeah, I like I said when we first started streaming, I've read about 15 books, and I still feel like I'm a newbie.
Right? It kind of, unless you devote your life to this, I feel like you're like gonna end
But
up feeling like a newbie. So much of it.
That's also the beautiful part of this, is that it's not Tolkien. It's not that there's not just like 5 books that you have to study like the Bible. There's like an endless amount of stories to spurg out on. There's always some goofy new thing to learn. It's not, it's not gonna be Tolkien tier most of the time. But like the overall story is that interesting that I'll take little, pulp, novellas, short stories, whatever I can get, and I love it.
Definitely.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Pets and something
I'm
more.
resisting the urge to defend Tolkien here.
I think Ron is.
You don't have to
that
defend
wasn't a
Tolkien.
shot at me.
Yeah, no, it's just that
Tolkien
there's 2 sides of the spectrum here. There's Tolkien, where there's not a lot of content, but it is all so well done that like you have to cut apart every sentence and know it all. And then there's Warhammer, where it's like it's not all done well, but there's so much goofy shit you can just enjoy it forever and not take it too seriously.
The middle point is like the Marvel universe and shit, where there's like a few good stories that are like necessary, and then there's just infinite trash.
Yeah.
And like the thing about Warhammer to me is that they've like really carefully preserved their IP to the point where like there's nothing, even if there's bad books, there's very little that's like so stupid that it like ruins everything, whereas like Marvel and DC just trip over themselves every couple years.
I think
Continuously now.
I think Marvel and like the evolution of comic books, it really highlights like how less is more so often. Like Warhammer's in a nice position where like you don't have to take it seriously. You weren't supposed to, obviously, in what we're reading here, you're just not supposed to fucking take it seriously. Now they made it so that you absolutely can take it seriously. But like Marvel always wanted you to take it seriously. And maybe not always, but like as far as once it started doing like the film universe and all of that, you're supposed to take this seriously as a major cultural event, as mythology that will impact your life. You're supposed to take that shit seriously. And you can't just put out shit forever and expect that to hold up. That's why Tolkien stands so strong, because there's so little of it.
But yeah, it's silly now. It's goofy. Captain Marvel, the Marvels are goofy.
Oh,
Guardians of the Galaxy is goofy.
We made it shitty on purpose.
There's a raccoon and he shoots lasers.
Yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah, but you're supposed to cry for that fucking. You're supposed to literally cry for that raccoon. God damn it.
You're supposed to go buy like a fucking Rocket Raccoon plushie.
And the last thing I want to do is be taking shots at Guardians of the Galaxy, because those are like okay films in the long run, comparatively speaking.
Marvel movies.
I think they set a trend that like all the other like Ant-Man, all those other movies tried to imitate, and that's what made them bad. But like I think Guardians itself is like okay.
Yeah. I think they clearly did a good job with. When you watch those, it's like objectively speaking, they're decent films. But
by the way, full circle.
There was effort put into
full circle. The reason the Guardians of the Galaxy is good is because of Dan Abnett, who wrote fucking Horus Rising and like most of the good Warhammer books.
He was involved in that? I had no idea.
He wrote all the comics that whole run of Guardians the movies are based on.
I had no idea.
And he's credited in the credits of the movie as like an influence of the script. So they should have had him just write the script, but you know. They get some shitty screenwriter to write it.
That's why
it's an adaptation of Dan Abnett.
Think about Dan Abnett.
What's that?
I'm not sure what that.
Oh.
He's
a man who likes to write war stories about brotherhoods in times of war.
Yeah, that's his thing.
That was probably the best part of Horus Rising, when they were in their little secret society and doing real shit.
Just boy shit.
He's kind of better at writing like the non-Space Marine characters.
I can't criticize Abnett for this. What I come to so often is that you have a story about superhuman Space Marines, and they're like, well, we have to add like a relatable regular human character, and then they enjoy writing the Space Marine so much that the Space Marine comes completely human and relatable because they were just having such a great time writing them. That the other humans became like totally unnecessary and kind of just dragged the story down. That's one thing I find sometimes. And it's not just Dan Abnett, that's everybody. Because they always like, in so many of the stories, they'll be like, well, we need like one female character at least. And it's not like, I'm not talking about like wokeness or like anything like that. Like it's reasonable to have a female character, but like when you're reading it, you're like, well, I just want Space Marines sawing things in half.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah, just
Hell
like
yeah.
certain things where he's like, you're seeing Space Marines like fighting, and the Siege of Terra. This one of the, like, I think it's the fourth one. Yeah, I think it was the fourth one I was reading. It has like certain scenes where there's like huge battle scenes. You're watching space. You're following the Space Marines, and then it cuts to some humans, and like they're just sort of like caught in the mix of everything and getting fucked up, and like they're terror. It's like a horror movie all of a sudden. They see like some Chaos Space Marines coming at them, and they have to run, and it's like you feel the stakes.
Yeah.
You feel the stakes a little bit.
This is when,
in a
and I
way.
was saying they shine more when like the Space Marines just can't relate to humans. I love that, and there's like one of the, I don't remember which book it is, but basically what you're talking about might be referencing the same thing. But there's a moment where like the Remembrancers are there while the Space Marines are fighting, and they basically just go fucking crazy from seeing the brutality and the violence.
Damn. That's awesome.
Yeah. So here we have
But they still have very much a human side to them also.
that's what I'm saying though, is like I feel like they go kind of heavy on that once they start enjoying writing for Space Marines enough.
Yeah, they write them like regular humans, which defeats the point of them being superhuman.
And don't take what we're saying as like talking about how shitty it is. Like we're talking about essentially like in much the same way comic books, like you expect like regular releases of stuff, so it's got to be written pretty fast, and there's a lot of it. And like that's what I want. I want silly storylines, and I want an endless fucking stream of stuff.
Yeah.
I watch pro wrestling.
The character Khan in Star Trek. Yeah, I think it's like a proto Space Marine, in a lot of ways.
I don't
And
know
he's just
anything
like,
about that. Sounds cool though.
Yeah.
So Khan is he's like a genetically, it's literally the same thing. It's like almost literally the same thing. Like there was this huge civil war, nuclear war in on Earth in Star Trek around the 90s, like around like 90s, early 2000s. And that's actually something they can't like really retcon away. So they keep kind of trying to fuck around with what happened in that period. But in the original Star Trek, there's like a nuclear war in the 90s, and it's these super intelligent, genetically altered beings who all take over the nukes and start fighting each other over Earth. And Khan rises out of them as this like king of the super beings, basically. And then he, I forget exactly how he like, I think he gets frozen or something, but he ends up in the Star Trek timeline. Like he ends up coming out and like existing in the future. And he's like he's smarter than everyone. He's better than everyone. He's better looking than everyone. He can like seduce any woman that he wants to.
Nice.
But he's just like has this crazy temper that's like completely out of control.
Yeah.
And like he can't like he gets in his own way, and that's how he ends up sort of being defeated. And then The Wrath of Khan is like the best Star Trek movie ever.
Yeah.
That's basically what he does in that movie too. He just kind of like can't sort of his ego is so big from how much better he is than everyone, that like a lesser man can actually defeat him by sort of anticipating that he won't. His pride, he can anticipate his pride and like basically defeat him by like second guessing him. Basically.
So I gotta ask,
like
guys,
the Emperor being a dumb bitch.
is Doom an unlicensed 40K game?
Doom
You
is
know
like
what? Holy shit.
Because 40K, it's all about Space Marines who are basically, they're traveling through space through hell, encountering demons and shit like that they have to blow away.
The thing about Doom is like it's like atheist hell. That's what sucks about Doom, but it's also kind of interesting. It's like
you could say the same thing about 40K.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the same, I don't know. It's like they make
Doom
a hell through technology.
This
that's
is 40K.
Like not really hell.
Okay, that still sounds like 40K,
40K.
but yeah.
It's more gayer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that it's not 40K, but like I feel like the entire inspiration, like they were basically making a
Instead of
40K
40K.
game, they just didn't have the license for it, so
Right,
they just did it their way.
like
Instead of
Event
40K, it's 40K.
Horizon is an unlicensed Warhammer 40K.
That's a good point too. We can get into that sometime. We could probably do a whole fucking podcast.
We don't
about
need
that.
eyes, John.
So
But you know, I kind of agree. It's kind of Doom. Yeah, I can go with that. I can go with Doom being a 40K.
Imperial Space Marines, support your Imperial Governor.
letters, papers.
Yeah, I'm not reading that. Should I read that? Do I have to read this?
I love the governor.
No, this is just
Who am
like
I?
you will see a lot of the future writers in the letters.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Someone
like
needs to-
Neil Graham.
The Hobgoblin rockets will be followed by a samurai version. I don't think the use of rockets unbalances the game unduly. Try them and see. So that does bring us to the end of the September 1987 edition of White Dwarf magazine, the first issue released after the initial release of Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, which was edition 1 of 40k. All right, boys.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to cut this stream off and talk about Freemasons?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right,
let's talk
let's
about
do
it.
let's do the
Why not?
Freemason stream.
We'll catch you guys in the next 40k stream. I'm going to start up a new stream right now, so if you're watching,